B'Shem HaShem Na'aseh v'Natzliach, Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We're back here continuing our series of the Jewish HaShkafa based on the series, the Sefer by the Chazon Ish, Emunah v'Bitachon. We've gone through line by line over the last nearly 80 shiurim, Baruch Hashem, trying to understand the mind of the tzaddik, trying to understand the mind of the chacham, and how we could apply it in our life. Tonight's shiur will be for Refuah Shlema for Rabbanit Levana Bat Sarah, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah Bat Anat, Avimori David ben Esriya, Imimorati Doris Bat Jora, and also for the Atzlacha Rabbah for Marsha Bat Julie, Ayla Bat Marsha, Samuel ben Marsha, Cephas ben Marsha, Alexander ben Marsha, Louis ben Marsha, and all of Am Yisrael and all of the righteous Noahites that continue to watch our shiurim, continue to learn with us, Baruch Hashem, and continue to contribute in any way that they possibly can. So tonight, Baruch Hashem, we're going to continue the extraordinary series. There's a lot to talk about, but I wanted to clarify a few things that apparently seems like I didn't do a good job last week at the event. For any of you that attended the event, I already know how you feel. Baruch Hashem, a lot of people had a very good time and a lot of inspiration, extraordinary chizuk in Emunah. I know that I got a lot of chizuk from the Emunah. And really got a very good clarification of what we need to have, what tools we need to have in order to deal with the day-to-day issues that, attack us every day, that are in our road, in our path every single day, whether it's money issues, marriage issues, children issues, or anything else. When a person has the right amount of emunah, they could literally conquer the world. But when a person doesn't have emunah, they literally can't even survive going to work. So of course, we needed the words of the sages, and Baruch Hashem, we got them last week. And BeEzrat Hashem, our next event is going to be on the 27th. Now, during the event, we announced a few major announcements. One of them is the extraordinary Siyum Oral Torah that we have, the event that we're going to have in Eretz Yisrael. It's going to be in the during the month of August. We still haven't finalized on a date. We have a couple of dates on the as possibilities. We're just verifying that the Rishon LeZion can meet these specific dates, but it looks like it may be the 9th of August. But again, don't hold me to it. It's not yet confirmed. We'll have that BeEzrat Hashem very, very soon. Aside from that, we also announced the release of our new series of USBs. It's 8 different USBs. The Tikkun BEIT number 2. It's to clarify, it's not a new movie, but rather a new USB that has many more things than the original USB had. There is close to 100 lectures, over 100 lectures, 130 lectures on there, plus over 100 or so movies. I think it's something like 230 or 240 different ways to learn about the issues of Tikkun BEIT, the Jewish way of understanding morality. Also has Jewish intimacy in there, which is very good for couples, new couples, old couples. So this USB, Baruch Hashem, is definitely going to do a lot of good. And we also have the other series is the Stump the Rabbi, over 100 lectures, the Era of Mashiach, my personal favorite series, aside from the Pirkei Avot. I think the Era of Mashiach by Rav Wasserman literally made more people, understand where we stand in the world today and what to expect in these times of the Era of Mashiach than anything else. We also have the amazing questions about God, the Igeret Aramban, and the Pirkei Avot. So we have, Baruch Hashem, 8 different USBs, and they're all out now. Now, for anyone that wants to simply buy the USBs themselves, just one copy for themselves, you can now go on our website, beezrathashem.org, and order yourself all 8 of them as a package. We're not selling them individually yet, because really we're trying to get these out there to as many people as possible. Now, anyone that wants to contribute and actually sponsor the USBs, we made it a special plan, especially after you see the price difference between selling them individually versus selling them as for sponsorship. We're subsidizing a big part of the cost, and anyone that contributes $1,000 towards the USBs is going to also get a raffle ticket to potentially win a flight to Eretz Yisrael. Whether you are someone that showed up at the event last week or you're someone anywhere else in the world, so long obviously as you have your own visa situation. We're not going to fix your visa, but anyone that has the ability to travel to Eretz Yisrael can get a raffle ticket. It's not a guaranteed ticket, it's a raffle ticket, which we're going to have the winner of that raffle on the 27th of July announced at the event, the next event here in Florida, several days before we go to Israel. So anyone that contributes to the sponsorship can go to tikkunabrit.live. Tikkun Abrit is T as in Tikkun, IKKUN as in Nancy, HABRIT.live, LIVE, not .com, live. You go over there and you'll see there's a button over there, sponsor USBs, and you press there and you click if you want to sponsor $1,000 worth or more. For each $1,000, you'll get a raffle ticket. Now, you're also going to get the actual USBs themselves if you want. If you don't want the USBs and you want us to give them out, then for sure we have plenty of people that want to give out the USBs but simply can't afford $1,000. If you do want to get the USBs, then it gives you the details over there that you'll get for every $1,000, you'll get 50 of the Tikkun Abrit USBs, and you're also going to get 50 of one of the other USBs. So you'll get 100 USBs. In essence, you're paying only $10 per USB, which is a fraction of the cost of what it actually costs to, and what it's being sold for. But the point is, you'll have 100 USBs. You'll be able to give out in your community, at the Judaica centers, in the synagogues, just in your streets, to if you know different Jewish people, wherever you are. You'll be able to give out these USBs. I personally believe this is the best tool in the market today to help people do tshuva, especially the combination of the Tikkun Abrit and something else, because it has an extraordinary amount of Torah, literally hundreds and hundreds of hours of Torah on each USB that you could both listen to as well as watch. So you have over 100 movies on every one of the USBs, over 100 short films and long films. You have the about half a dozen feature films that are 2 hours or so each, plus a bunch of short films that we make and publicize each week. So you'll have over 100 films there. Go to tikkunabrit.live and you'll be able to sponsor as well as receive the actual USBs themselves. So in essence, you're getting something for your money one way or the other, not just a raffle ticket. Now, if you end up winning the raffle ticket, then Ashrecha, Baruch HaShem, you also won that too. Depending on how many people enter, we'll obviously make adjustments along the way. But nonetheless, this is something that's available to everybody, not just the people that attended the event. It seems like a few people misunderstood, and they said they wish they would have come to the event because they would have actually sponsored one of the, at least $1,000 worth of USBs. Because they either way they want to get the USBs, not just the raffle ticket. So if you want to the USBs, you can go to tikkunabrit.live and sponsor the USBs. Now, as far as shipping is concerned, it all the cost is not in the $1,000. It depends where you are. If you are in the States, then the shipping cost is relatively minimal. It's not very much. But if you are overseas, meaning you're in Canada, you're in Australia, you're somewhere else, then obviously the cost is a little bit more. So we'll let you know once we know that cost if you want the USBs, and we'll add that to the tab as far as what needs to be paid for. But nonetheless, this is a huge opportunity for anybody that wants to do KIRUV in their community. It's one of those things where Baruch Hashem, it looks good, and it's even better than it looks. Baruch Hashem. So anyone that wants to sponsor the USBs as well as get themselves a raffle ticket, please go to tikkunabrit.live. So this is something that perhaps a few people misunderstood. So I wanted to clarify it, that anyone can sponsor the USBs and anyone can actually win the raffle. Each time somebody wins the raffle, each time somebody buys the ticket, they'll be receiving an email within a few days of their raffle number, even a picture of it perhaps, and they'll get a picture of their raffle, and they'll be able to check their number versus the winning number that will be announced on July 27th. So either way, one of the things I always want to tell you guys is that I don't ask people to pay me for lectures. I don't ask people to give me any money personally or anything like that. I ask people to simply listen to our shiurim, do the best that they can to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And one of the ways we want to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu is to help others do tshuva, to help others get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the best ways that we know is simply what we're doing. So by giving people a USB, you're in essence giving somebody a way to get back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's because the teachings themselves speak for themselves. It's not me. It has nothing to do with me. If you spoke the same words, you'd have the same exact results. And Baruch Hashem, every day we get new emails from people and messages from people on how the lectures have changed their life. Just the other day, I had somebody send me a message telling me that after he watched one of the short films that we had about marijuana, he quit smoking marijuana, and he says for the first time in 10 years, he's not high, and he feels like his brain is healing, and he feels amazing, and it's something that he never even thought was remotely even a possibility. But apparently that short film that Team HaShem made literally inspired somebody that was high for 10 years at least straight, with no exceptions, every single day, just like you breathe and eat every day. He was smoking marijuana every day. But after hearing what he heard in that short film, it changed his life so much so that he quit once and for all. And Baruch Hashem, he says he's thinking clearly now. And BeEzrat Hashem will put that message that he sent me on the screen so you guys can see these amazing things. Other people have told me that they've changed their entire wardrobe. Women, Baruch Hashem, are modest. Women are taking off their wigs and putting on a kisui rosh, a mitpachat, a scarf or a hat. Other people have literally taken learning seriously. I had one guy send me a message telling me he was off the derech when I met him. He was completely, was a yeshiva bachur, didn't really care for what he was doing anymore. And Baruch Hashem, a little over a year later, he's aspiring to become one of the Gedolei Ador with the amount of dedication that he has to learning Torah. So Baruch Hashem, each one of these USBs has those teachings to help people do tshuva. And there's an enormous amount of people out there that are learning from them. And Baruch Hashem, even if you look at our channels, Baruch Hashem, they've grown. We are well over 50 or 60,000 subscribers across our YouTube channels. If you calculate both the English channel, which I think alone is like 34,000 or so, plus you have the Spanish channel, the Portuguese channel, the Hebrew channel, French, German, Russian, Baruch Hashem, everything is growing. And you see that people out there are looking for this, but the reason why we still made these USBs is because not everybody's going to find you on YouTube, and you have to do whatever you can to get to people. Sometimes people need something physical, something tangible in order to press play, in order to do something, in order to make it real, in order to bring that Torah to actual life. Sometimes they need to attend an event. So for all of those people that sponsored that lecture last week, Ashrechem v'ashrech, you have no idea how many people you inspired, not just by the people that attended, and anyone out there that they know that they're going to take home some of the USBs and the books and all the other free stuff that we gave them home to inspire other people, but also the thousands and thousands of other people that have watched it already over the last few days, and thousands more, countless more, that will continue to watch that particular lecture, in the coming years. So when you're giving somebody this USB, it's a lot more than you giving him tzedakah. It's a lot more than you giving him a ride. It's a lot more than you giving him anything. Because simply put, this is even more than a single lecture. Because if you give somebody, you bring somebody to a lecture, they may be inspired, but they may not know the way back home. I had somebody today just send me a message. Listen, I attended a lecture last week. I loved it. I want to do more. He didn't realize apparently that all the stuff that was there, that's all top of the line quality, was for free. So he didn't take anything. So he just, he went there, he got inspired, and went home. I didn't meet him face to face, but Baruch Hashem, he had my number and he sent it to me, and he said, I want to do tshuva. What do I do now? So now I told him I'll give him a gift, and I'll send them a free KIRUV package with a lot of this stuff in there, with books, with all types of material that's going to help him do tshuva. Because now that he had the lecture, that lecture by itself will inspire a person for a few days, but that's it. You have continuous teachings. These USBs are that continuous teachings. So when you're getting yourself 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, whatever amount of USBs you're getting for your community, for people that you know, for people that you don't know, you're in essence giving them the tool to do complete tshuva. Because once a person listens to a complete USB, whichever one it is, whether it's Tikkun HaBrit or Erev Mashiach or Stump the Rabbi or whatever it is, each and every single one of those USBs has produced an enormous amount of Baalei Tshuva, Baruch Hashem, an enormous amount of Baalei Tshuva. One of the USBs that we produced was Stump the Rabbi. Stump the Rabbi was an extraordinary series that we started because one of my Talmidot, she decided that she wants to sacrifice our time, our effort, our money to bring young guys and girls from the community, from Florida, together to get them to learn Torah. And Baruch Hashem, that series has become the most popular series that we've had, and we still have to this day. And even more than that, just out of that group of people that came, at least a half a dozen or more kids have become yeshiva bachurim that are going to kollel, that are going to yeshiva till this day. Like literally complete transformation. They came in, mechalei Shabbat, eating pig, going out with goyot, going out with doing anything and everything possible, drug addicts. From that series alone, those few lectures alone, they transformed their life. And every single one of these USBs has Baalei Tshuva with their names on it in there. And you can actually help your community with them. So again, this is a fantastic opportunity to get people to do tshuva with something that's creative, something that is actually, for sure it works, and it's not speculation. A lot of times there are new things that come out there. That's a new tool that may or may not work, but you don't really know. These are things that actually do work because we've seen them work. And BeEzrat Hashem, they'll work wherever you are. Like I said, if you're able to give them out, which I think is going to be very easy, you simply just stand. You go to synagogue, you just give people one of the USBs. What is it? Oh, it's cool. Oh, that's it. You don't have to say it's Rabbi Reuven, it's Rabbi this. You don't have to say anything. Just give it to them. The looks are going to do the job. Once they see this product, it's such a cool looking product, they're going to be interested. Oh, thank you very much. And you could easily give out literally hundreds of these every single day. Achev picha v'amaleo, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, open your mouth and I'll fill it with as much Torah as you want. You could literally go to synagogue and give them out. You go to a Jewish center, you go to a Jewish supermarket, anything you have, wherever you have a bunch of Jewish people, you could literally give out hundreds and hundreds of these because it's simply easy to give these out. And each and every single one of those people that you just take your hand with a USB in it and you give it to them, you're buying yourself another ticket to Olam Haba. You're buying yourself another ticket to Olam Haba because it's not just a single event, it is a series of lectures that can transform a life. And again, if they want to watch, they have something to watch, a lot of things to watch. They want to just hear, they have a bunch of things to hear. Either way, you could help people do tshuva. So, Baruch Hashem, we have them out, we have them ready. Anyone that wants to sponsor them, go to tikkunabrit.live and you'll be able to sponsor over there. Now, as far as buying them individually, if you simply just want them for yourself, you go to the BeEzrat Hashem website and you can buy the whole package as it is. So, with that being said, hopefully I did a better job explaining it this time than I did last week. And BeEzrat Hashem will continue now with the series itself. We have a continuation from last week's chapter 3, where the Chazon Ish clarified a strategy for us to not only work on our midot and perfect ourselves as human beings, but also giving us the exact way of how to get there. Where many times we were taught, and we just simply understood it rationally, that if a person has a bad character trait, whether it is anger or arrogance or stinginess or whatever it is, that you simply have to deal with that particular issue. The Chazon Ish clarified it and broke it down in a much simpler way, much more successful way, and he told us that, simply put, if you want to fix your anger, you want to fix your pride, you want to fix your lust, you want to fix whatever it is that's a big thing that's bothering you, generally speaking, it's not a good idea to just go after the big thing, but rather go after it as something that it breaks into, meaning that break up each bad character trait into pieces of what is, let's say, for example, if someone's angry, when do you get angry? Oh, I get angry when I talk to my spouse. Okay. What else do you get angry? I get angry when people send me, a half a message and they expect me to understand everything. Okay. Where else do you get angry? And I get angry when people are lazy. Okay. Where else do you get angry? I get angry when people are late to opportunities that I gave them. Okay. And so on and so forth. Now, a person that is going to break that down is now going to see, wait a minute. I get angry with all of these different things. Perhaps I can't fix all of them, but this one I can fix. This little one I can fix. And he starts fixing that little one, that little branch. The little branch of that big ugly tree, he can fix that little branch. Says the Chazon Ish, when you break up the midot into parts, it's much easier to fix the parts. And when you fix that part, you end up improving the entire foundation. Unlike what we were taught and what we thought, that, in essence, you have to face that big thing. Instead, you're able to fix the little one, the little branch. And fixing that little branch is going to actually improve the really big one, the core. Once you're able to fix that core, you now have new tools that are going to be able to give you strength to fix other branches. And BeEzrat HaShem, little by little, get to a point where you fix the entire thing. And then after that, you go into fixing other character traits. So this was an extraordinary chidush. I know it was for me, for a few people that have commented on the shiur. It certainly was for them, because now it becomes not only possible to fix the character traits, not only does it become realistic to fix the trait, but it actually becomes reasonable. Reasonable in a sense that, okay, I know that I have to fix this bad trait that I have, but I don't know how, because everything makes me angry. Everything makes me this. Okay, fine. Don't fix everything. Fix that little one that you know you can fix. Once you know that you can fix that little one, you now go ahead and attack that little one. Once you fixed that little one, you'll all of a sudden see that you now have new strengths, new confidence, new abilities to fix others. And it starts healing the core. And that's one of the most beautiful things in the world that I know that I saw myself. When we started doing tshuva, we started working on different things. And one of the things that I knew for myself I had to work on as far as happiness. How do you get happy? Where do you get happy? Do you buy it at a store? Do you do this? Do you do that? And through the Torah, you start seeing that happiness is not something that you acquire from things. Happiness is a state of being. And little by little, as you work on it, before you know it, you're walking around with a smile. Before you know it, you have a smile that's not necessarily always shown on your face, but certainly is on your heart. So this is one of the things that the Torah can actually give a person. And it's so rewarding that it literally enables the person to want to do more. Many things, when you do them, especially when they're difficult, you feel a sense of achievement, but at the same token, a sense of relief. You did it, you finished it, I'm finished, now I can take a break. But when you actually correct your character traits, when you actually acquire a good character trait, you're not only going to get that sense of happiness and success that you've actually achieved something, but you now have newfound strength to do more. You're not looking for that, for the relief that, okay, I'm never going to do anything more again, but rather you now have newfound strength to do even more. That's one of the beautiful things that you have with the Torah itself. So now we go to section 4 in chapter 4, where the Chazon Ish continues this thought, and he says the following: V'yitachen sheze nichleklu במסכת אבות, פרק ב', משנה ט', איזוהי דרך ישרה שידבק בה האדם, וכולי. רבי אלעזר אומר, לב טוב, אמר להם, רואה אני את דברי רבי אלעזר בן ערך, שבכלל דבריו דבריכם, שבאמת לכולי עלמא, לב טוב היא המידה הטובה של כל מידות הטובות המתאחדות להיות נמצא אחד מיוחד, אבל לא הדיון על האמצעים הפעילים לקניין של לב טוב, ואמרו שיבוא לב טוב אינו מלמד כלום באמצעים לבוא לידי ברור המבוקש. עד כאן. So section 4 is a very long section, so we're not going to do the whole thing. We're just going to do a section within a section. And the Chazon Ish says the following. It's possible that this, meaning everything we just spoke about, is related to the dispute brought in Masechet Avot, in Pirkei Avot, in chapter 9, in chapter 2, Mishnah 9, or if you have a nusach like I have, it's in chapter 2, Mishnah 13. It was broken up slightly differently. Anyone that watched our series or listened to our series of Pirkei Avot knows what I'm talking about. There's different nusachim of how the Mishnayot were broken up. Either way, it's the same exact thing. He says that in this Mishnah, it's in the name of Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. And he asks his 5 disciples to go out and find a straight way, straight path for a man should follow. What is this straight path? In essence, what Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai is asking his students is to go find me a path for a person to follow in order to achieve a life with purpose, a purposeful life. And his students respond. Rabbi Eliezer says, a good eye. Rabbi Yoshua says, a good friend. Good friend. Rabbi Yosef says, a good neighbor. Rabbi Shimon ben Netanel says, the ability to see consequences. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, a good heart. Ben Arach says, a good heart. So, says Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the words of Rabbi Elazar ben Arach are preferable to me than your words. Everything you said is included in what he said. So everyone agrees that a good heart is the good trait, says the Chazon Ish, which includes all the good traits that unite and become one complete whole. But the discussion is about the active means by which one can acquire a good heart. And telling a person to go out and acquire a good heart doesn't teach him anything about the means to achieve the desired goal. So up to here is what we're going to cover today, BeEzrat HaShem. So first we have to understand what is actually being said here. What is being said, who is saying it, why are they saying it, and so on. So, in order for a person to achieve their goal, as far as achieving life's purpose, we've already established that to achieve life's purpose has nothing to do with how much money you have, has nothing to do with the possessions you have, but rather with what kind of name you leave for yourself. What kind of name you leave yourself is never having to do with the money you have or you don't have, but rather with your actions. Just like Shlomo HaMelech says, Tov Shem Mishem and Tov. It's better to have a good name than good oil. Because although a person may have good oil, meaning a lot of money, he may be the slime of the earth. He may be a person that when he dies, everybody celebrates. On the other hand, when a person has a good name, that's something that they earned throughout their life. They can't just simply earn a good name because of one single action. They can't earn a good name just because of one show of gratitude or one show of generosity. Good name is something that a person earns throughout their entire life. And really, when a person leaves this world, that's when they're truly going to find out how good their name really was. Because while a person is alive, people may kiss up to them, people may call them tzaddik, people may call them a lot of things, but in reality, it could very well be because of the hidden agendas that people have or what they want from this person. Like this one person came up to somebody that I know and started saying, all types of compliments. And in reality, it was well known that this person was just saying all those compliments because he was 5 minutes away from asking for money that he believed that this person has. So, of course, it's nice to hear nice things unless they're fake. So a person that is going to hear nice things from people especially if they're in a position of power, shouldn't be so sure of themselves that those people actually mean what they're saying. Sometimes they have some agenda, sometimes they have some type of interest to say those things. On the other hand, when a person passes away, no one is worried that this person is going to fire them. No one is worried if this person is going to get angry at them. He passed away. He's not in this world anymore. And that's when you know what the community truly thinks about you, what the world really thinks about you, what your wife, your husband, what your kids, what everybody really thinks about you. That's when you truly know whether you have a good name or not. And the only way that a person is going to be satisfied with with what happens at that point is if they worked on earning that good name. Now, the sages in Pirkei Avot showed us their wisdom in telling us exactly who, what, when, and how on everything having to do with behavior, with how you how you behave, how you're supposed to behave in this world, according to the Torah. Not having to do with telling you whether to wear a big kippah or a small kippah, or whether you should keep Shabbat or don't keep Shabbat. That's all a given. But rather, simply behavior traits. And Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, which we have to thank for, day after day for the entire oral Torah, sits on his shoulders. Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5 disciples, 5 exceptional disciples, that he mentions in Pirkei Avot how each one of them stood out. Each one of them stood out, where he says in the Mishnah number 12 that if all of the sages of Israel were on one pan of a balanced scale, and Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos was on the other, he would outweigh them all. Abba Shaul said in Rabban Yochanan's name, if all of the sages of Israel, with even Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos were among them, were on one pan of the balance scale, and Rabbi Elazar ben Arach were on the other, he would outweigh them all. So here we see that not only did he give us the names of these couple of his sages, but he also told us how great they were in comparison to the rest of the sages of Am Yisrael at that time and forevermore. Now he also gives us in the Mishnah before that, each one of these Talmidim, what was their main thing that he praised them for. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos is like a cemented cistern that loses not a drop, meaning whatever you teach, Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos, that's it. You can take that to the bank. This is a side note for anyone that has read the Gemara and learned about the machloket, the very big machloket between Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos, who was the rabbi of Rabbi Akiva, and Rabban Gamliel, who was the Nasi Ador, who was the prince of the generation. He was the Gdol Ador, that was the head of the generation, head of the Sanhedrin. And it was a very big machloket between the two, a very sad story that involves all types of mystical things that happen, debating a certain halacha. And Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos was on one side, and Rabban Gamliel and the rest of the sages were on the other side, in regards to a tanu, oven, and so on. And Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos said, if I'm right, then the tree, this giant tree that was next to them, is going to be cut in half. And as he finished the sentence, the tree was cut in half. In Shamayim, HaShem miraculously made this tree cut in half. Rabban Gamliel says, well, thank you very much, but we don't learn our halachot from trees that get cut. Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos says, if I'm right about what I'm saying, then you see this river, the river is going to reverse, meaning the water is going to start going uphill instead of downhill. Meaning the laws of nature will change, just to prove that I'm right. And that's exactly what happened. The river all of a sudden reversed. Just show you the extraordinary Torah that these people had, that literally HaKadosh Baruch Hu would change nature just for their sake. Rabban Gamliel says, thank you very much, but no, we don't learn our Torah from rivers. Then he said, if I'm right, then a bat kol, a heavenly voice, will come out and say I'm right. You need anything else from that? It's like Mount Sinai. And that's exactly what happened. All of a sudden, a voice comes from heaven saying, Kadosh Baruch Hu's voice, why are you bothering my son, Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos? Don't you know that halacha is like him? And the Chachamim say, thank you very much, but lo b'shamayim. We don't learn Torah from heavenly voices. We have rules that we got on Mount Sinai from Moshe Rabbeinu of how to apply these rules to actually paskin on halacha. We don't learn from a heavenly voice. There's no rule that says that we have to listen to heavenly voices in order to paskin halacha, even though rationally speaking it sounds like, of course you have to listen to it, but that's not the rule. The rule says we have to paskin halacha based on the rules. Now, and one of those things is not has nothing to do with a heavenly voice. The point being is that after they saw that Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos is not changing their mind, they put him on Nidui. Put him on Nidui so there's not going to be two Torahs. Now, one of the Chachamim went to one of the Talmidim of Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos, says, Kvod Harav, why don't you change your mind? Just agree with him. It's worth it for you to be on Nidui? He says, you don't understand. I can't. Why can't you? What is that? It has nothing to do with arrogance. This is Gdol Ador. This is Kodesh Kodeshim. He's the biggest Talmid Chacham on planet Earth. You can't even doubt him for a second. You can't think for a moment that he has any arrogance whatsoever. So the question is, why don't you change your mind? Okay, I understand you know you're right and you think that they're wrong and so on, but still, is it worth all of this? To be on Nidui? You can't be part of the community anymore. The Talmidim can't go to you anymore. All these different things that are going to happen. He says, I can't. Why? For me, I learned this from my rabbi. I learned this from my rabbi. What does it mean I learned from my rabbi? I learned a lot of things from my rabbi. So what does that mean? He goes, no, it's not the same. For me, learning it from my rabbi, it's like my rabbi is right now. You're asking me about what the question is? I see my rabbi, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, right now next to me, telling me that's the halacha. You want me to go against my rabbi right now? Meaning it's not about, I learned this in a book, I heard this somewhere, I heard in the Shiur, and maybe I should do this. No. Every time you ask me a question, I see my rabbi right now. He's telling me he's right next to me. And what am I going to go against my rabbi? So for him it was a reality. And that's what Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai says, that Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos, he is like a cistern. Everything you put in him, that's what it's going to be. It's never going to change. It's never going to change. Something unbelievable. You're never going to lose a drop. Rabbi Yoshua ben Chananya, praiseworthy is she who bore him. He was such a big tzaddik. You already have to praise his mother that how she merited to have such a big tzaddik as a son. Rabbi Yosef, the Kohen, is scrupulously pious person. He's a big tzaddik. He's a very, very pious person. Make sure that not only does he do what he's supposed to do, but above and beyond. Rabbi Shimon ben Netanel, Yireh Chet, he fears sin. He has an extraordinarily high level of fear of heaven. Yirat Shamayim. Rabbi Elazar ben Arach is like a spring flowing stronger and stronger. Rabbi Elazar ben Arach, which we find out in the following, in the next Mishnah, he is the biggest among them. He is a spring that keeps going stronger and stronger. This person simply has no limitation to how great he's going to become in Torah. While all of them are great, all of them are Gdolei Ador, Rabbi Elazar ben Arach, he's something that's not human. He's something that is above and beyond. So comes Rabbi Yechezkel Abramsky, one of the Gdolei Ador in the previous generation, and he asks, wait a minute, why is it necessary for the Mishnah to tell us which one of them is the greatest? I mean, they're all great. They're all the Talmidim of Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. Why do we need to know which one of them is the greatest? I mean, wouldn't one of them say, listen, he's the greatest. Well, how come you don't say I'm the greatest? Maybe insulting to somebody. Maybe it'll make him feel bad. Why do I need to know which one is the greatest? Either way, it's not like they're all here. So what do I need to know? Says Rabbi Avraham Avramsky, Yechezkel Avramsky, something that you need to know today. Something you need to know today. What do we learn from this? He says in Judaism, it's not just who is a big rabbi, who is a Talmid Chacham. That's not enough. It's not enough. Why? Because when there is an issue that affects the public, you can't just say, listen, I asked my rabbi if I'm allowed to bring a missionary to the shul, and he said it's okay. And think that is sufficient. No, Habibi. what you are deciding to do is not just going to affect your community, but because of your stature, because of your recognition and your popularity, you are making a decision for Klal Israel. By you deciding to bring a missionary to a shul, you are now, in essence, putting a check stamp, an okay stamp, that everybody's allowed to bring a missionary to a shul. Because if you're allowed to bring a missionary to a shul, why shouldn't everybody bring to a missionary to a shul? Which means that you can't just put all of that responsibility on your rabbi, even if your rabbi is a big rabbi, even if your rabbi is Gdolador, you can't put him on his shoulder. Why? Because we all know that there are rabbis, big Talmidei Chachamim, a Gdolador, but then there is the biggest Gdolador, the one that everyone knows he's the biggest and the best. There's simply no competition. Yes, your rabbi is a Gadol, your rabbi is a Chacham, your rabbi is great, but everyone knows that he's not the biggest. There's someone bigger than him, perhaps a few. For something that is going to affect the community at large, for someone that's going to affect the nation, you can't just rely on your rabbi or even your rabbi's rabbi. You have to literally go to the biggest rabbi in the world and see what he says. And that is why the Mishnah tells us they're all big rabbis, they're all big tzaddikim, they're all exceptional, they're all named by name in the Mishnah. But there's a big one among them too. There's the biggest one among them too. You need to know who it is. This, Rabotai, is a very, very important thing, because many times people get all bent out of shape when they hear something in a shiur, perhaps my shiur, and then they go to their local rabbi, and the local rabbi disagrees. He says, no, man, I said, so since I have my rabbi, he said no, and I want to double check because, I want to have Yirat Shamayim, so I asked my rabbi to ask his rabbi, and my rabbi and his rabbi said, I don't have to do what you said. Fine. Question is your rabbi and your rabbi's rabbi bigger than the Gdolei Ador? No. So who are you going to listen to? Oh, but don't I have to listen to my rabbi? Not when it comes to that. If it's a standard black or white issue that has to do with that's acceptable everywhere, no problem. But when it has to do with something that's a significant thing, something such as wigs with avodah zarah, something such as wasting seed, something that has to do with issues of karet, these are big things. These are not things you could simply rely on your local rabbi or even his rabbi, unless his rabbi is literally the biggest rabbi in the world today. And this is one of the things that people fail to understand. They fail to understand. They simply think, listen, as long as I'm listening to my rabbi, I'm okay. No, it doesn't work like that, Habibi. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes there's somebody bigger than your rabbi, and usually there is, and that's who you have to listen to. If that other big rabbi said something, that's who you have to listen to. So this is also one of the things that a lot of people got confused during the whole coronavirus craziness. A lot of people would just listen to whoever had more YouTube videos. This is not the way of Torah. So it's very, very important for a person to have an understanding of this particular Mishnah and why the Chachamim took words out of the in this Mishnah and made sure to know that we need to know who's the biggest. Now, we move forward. We see that Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai tells us that there is a path that a person should follow in order to achieve a purposeful life. Now this path is not an easy one. And each one of the Chachamim say their own, they have a something to say about it. Rabbi Eliezer, this is Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkenos, says, good eye. If you have a good eye, you're going to have a good life. You're going to have a purposeful life. How could a good eye give you a purposeful life? Very simple. Most of people's problems that are not real problems, in their mind, they're real problems. They stem from their eyes. There's a reason why every single day a Jew is obligated to say the Shema Yisrael, and after that the section about tzitzit, which we learned in last week's Parashat Shlach, which says, "V'lo taturu achei levavchem v'achei einechem." Don't follow your heart, and don't follow your what you see, what your eyes see. Why? Because your eyes are going to lead you to look where they shouldn't look. Instead of looking at what you are supposed to look at, your stuff, your responsibilities, your merchandise, your bank account, your wife, your husband, your kids, your stuff, you looking at everybody else's. So all of a sudden, you're not happy with your marriage because you looked at your fellow's wife. She is younger, she is thinner, thicker, blonde, blue, whatever it is, and your wife is not. Your wife is not. Now, until you saw your friend's wife, you were happy with your wife. She cooked for you, she cleaned for you, she says I love you, she tolerates you, she forgives you. But all of a sudden you looked at your fellow's wife and you saw that she's half the size. And you're all of a sudden you're like, I don't know if I made the right choice. What do you mean you don't know if you made the right choice? What do you mean? You don't know if you made the right choice. How? Why? Because your eyes are somewhere else. So when a person looks elsewhere, already it creates problems. Not real problems. They're problems in their mind. Another thing is, a person that doesn't have a good eye is simply a miserable person, because they can never allow themselves to be happy for other people, because they're always looking at what other people have. And what ends up happening is that those looks create thoughts. Those thoughts create realities. They're fake, but they're realities in their mind. And those realities create certain actions. Example, a person thinks that they can't grow in their life. Why? I'm just not good enough. Why aren't you good enough? Listen, I'm not good enough because look at him. He has already a big house. He's got a few cars. Just one of his cars is more expensive than my entire house. He's got wife and kids. He's got a $50,000 watch. He's got all the. What does that have to do with your life choices? No, listen. Why does he have all of that? Because he's already been in the business for 25 years. I'm only in the business for 5 years. So I have to wait another 20 years to maybe I'll be successful. But in reality, he's probably the last of his generation, and the business is not the same anymore. The business is not the same anymore. So you can't make money if you come to the business now. Only if you came 25 years ago like him. This is what I used to hear literally on a weekly basis from people that used to work for me on Wall Street, where they always said, listen, the people of the previous generation, they were able to make a lot of money. That's because back then, the commissions were higher. Back then, the market was more concentrated and you were able to do certain things. Back then, there was this. Back then, there was that. And all of these excuses. I'm like, yeah, but I made money. I did okay. Yeah, but you're the last of the generation. You're this, you're that. You're the exception. In reality, this is all fake. This is all nonsense. This is all nonsense. In every business, there's a way to fail, there's a way to succeed. In every thing in the world, there's a way to fail, there's a way to succeed. There's no such thing as the last of the generation. And if what you're saying is true, why are you here today? But unfortunately, what ends up happening is that they see the success that somebody else has, and they want it now. They don't want to do what it takes to get there. They want it right now, and since they know they can't acquire it right now, they might as well say, just settle with the fact that I'm never going to be there, so I might as well not even try. And in essence, their eyes and their jealousy led them to already be determined to fail. This is a horrible mindset that kills a lot of people's lives, but nonetheless, it's very, very common. Very common. Other times, a person could say, listen, you come to your house, and instead of saying hello, being focused on who the host is, the guest is focused on who the host is focused on who the guest is, they concentrate on measuring each other up. They come to your house, they start looking at your window shades. Oh, window shades! Wow, it's got window shades. These are big windows. It's probably $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 a window. And he looks at the walls. Oh, wow! Look at those pictures. Each one of those pictures, at least 1,000, maybe 1,500. How many pictures he has? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. This guy like $20,000 on his walls. And then he looks at the kitchen. Oh, wow. That's a Sub-Zero refrigerator. I think I saw it at that store and I cried that I couldn't afford it. It was like, what, $25,000. And then they start measuring up your stuff. Before you know it, like trying to get the guy's attention. Hey, you with me? You're here. And they're still measuring up your stuff. How many bedrooms? Oh, can you show me your house? Can you show me a walkthrough? Why? Are you a realtor? You're going to sell my house? You're going to buy my house? What do you need to look at the house for? This is what people do. They measure each other up. It's a pathetic way of life. But nonetheless, this is one of the things that people do as a norm. As simply a norm. First time they go to somebody's house, they want to get a walkthrough. Want to see the stuff. Especially as the income goes higher and the houses get bigger, the guests that they have are those types of people. They simply come in to measure each other up. Or they come to an office. They want to see the office. How many offices? What kind of chandeliers are in the office? What kind of phone system is in the office? How many employees are in the office? What kind of floor does the office have? Is it carpet or is it marble? Is it this? Is it that? People simply allow themselves to look at other people's stuff in order to arrive at certain conclusions. And more times than not, those conclusions are not only wrong, but they cause damage. Not necessarily just to the person that's showing it to them, but to themselves. Now, needless to say, there's also evil eye. People look at your stuff and they start counting your money. This is one of the things that I've suffered for my whole life. For whatever reason or another, I've had this tikkun in my life that my whole life, literally since I was a little kid, for whatever reason or another, the world was always interested in what I do with my money. How much money I have in my pocket, how much money I've spent here, how much money I have there. No idea why, but for whatever reason, literally I've had people ask me, how much did you pay for that chandelier? What do you care? You want to go buy it? You want me to sell it to you? You want me to take it off the ceiling and give it to you? Why do you care how much my chandelier costs? And then when you tell them, like, nah, come on, I know you. You're being humble. You're being humble. It must cost more than that. All types of stupid things. People are constantly concentrating on how much money is in my pocket. It's the most bizarre thing in the world. I never really truly understood it until I read this Mishnah. This Mishnah is simply telling you, have a good eye. Most people don't have a good eye. Why? They want more for themselves. And their belief is, because they've spent all of their life looking at other people's stuff, they've literally gone shopping in other people's houses and other people's companies and other people's malls and they're window shopping everywhere. And in essence, they've decided what belongs to them without buying. And anyone that has what belongs to them makes them upset. Why does he have it and I don't? Oh, he has a new car. Pfft, thief. Why is he a thief? Because he has a new car? Yeah, how does he have a new car? He works for UPS. How does he have so much money? He gets a new car. I don't know. Maybe, he has saved his money. I don't know. Maybe somebody, he has a second job. Nah, he also has a new house. You heard about the second house he's building? Where does he get that kind of money working for UPS? How does he have money working for UPS? I know people work for UPS. They barely have enough money to eat. This guy's buying a second house. He must be stealing the packages. And they literally make up all types of things in their mind because of their evil eye. This is not only bad because you bring an evil eye on other people, but it's also bad on the person himself. It inhibits the person himself from growing because they're too focused on other people's stuff. This is an atrocious thing. It's literally having cancer that's stage 4 and no cure in sight unless the person does tshuva. And the person doesn't even know he has this. He simply, or she simply, has developed such a bad habit to measure people up that they do it naturally without thinking twice. This you'll see many times when you meet new people. You meet new people, what do? Do they tell you, how are you? How you doing? And they start asking you, what are you learning today? What's your ambitions in life? No. What do you do for a living? Where do you work? Where do you live? Do you own the house or you rent? Why do you care if I own or I rent? Are you a realtor? Are you looking to sell a house that you want me to buy? Are you looking to rent your house? You want me to rent? Do I look homeless to you? That I need your house to buy or to rent? Why do you care where I work? Are you looking for a job? Are you looking for somebody? I'm a doctor. Are you sick? I'm a lawyer. Are you somebody suing you? I'm a cop. Are you a criminal? Why do you care what I do? Why do you care where I live? Did I invite you to my house? And this is one of the things people do naturally, normally, without thinking twice about it. Why? Because they have literally been programmed by the Yetzer Hara in society to measure up everything, to go window shopping, psychological shopping, everywhere they can do. On the internet is not enough. In the stores, in the streets is not enough. They do it with people. Simply, everyone they meet, they start measuring up. It's like a resume. What do? Doctor. What kind of doctor? Dentist. It's not really a doctor. Okay, I'll put doctor. I'll put MD. Yeah, because the doctor that I was looking for, for the Shiur, he's like a spinal surgeon. Starting salary $800,000. You're a dentist. So what are you making? $100,000? Okay, Sam said. Where do you live? Oh, Toad Hill. Must come from a rich family. Okay, check. Oh, so maybe we'll put the doctor back, not the MD. All right. What else? What kind of car do you drive? Oh, that's your car. You bought the car or you lease? Oh, lease. He's not. He doesn't believe in finance. I need to talk to this guy. Where do you bank? Where do you this? What shoes? Like they ask you all these. Why? Why do you need to know all this stuff? This, Rabotai, is an indication not only of the low level of society, but also if we are the ones that ask people these questions, if we ask those questions, if we simply think about them, if we think about what does he do and what does she do, how long are they married and how many kids do they have, where do you vacation and what do you eat for lunch on a Tuesday, all of these things, you have to understand, these are not natural thoughts, these are not healthy thoughts, and these are certainly not thoughts that are going to bring you to a better place. Because what they all ultimately create is an evil eye. An evil eye that hurts the person as well as yourself. So one of the things that Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkener says, you want to go on a good path? Good eye. Have a good eye. What's a good eye? Good eye is you're happy for other people. No matter what level of success they have, you're happy. You hear that one of your former classmates that was barely able to pass a single test just started a company and it took off and he made millions. Say Baruch HaShem. Good for him. You hear somebody that you know that literally was uglier than a goat. You hear they got married and have 3 cute little kids? Baruch Hashem, very good. Even if you're single, even if you can't find even yourself in a mirror, still be happy for other people. Be happy that other people are successful. Why? Have a good eye. Rabbi Aryeh Levin, one of the great sages in the last generation, there was literally a plague that was killing babies left and right. Shem Yishmo. Babies were dying left and right. They had a community meeting, and the Rav said, okay, he gave them some chizuk, and he says, okay, it's time for all of us to take something on. What is everybody going to take on? One guy says, I won't speak Lashon Hara. Another guy says, I will give more tzedakah. Another person says, I'll be more observant with my Shabbat, and so on and so forth. Rabbi Aryeh Levin said to them, all of those Kabbalot, all those things that you said, they're all good. But they're not going to stop the plague. You guys want to stop the plague? You want to stop seeing babies die? All of you, sign on a paper I'm going to give you that's going to allow each one of your neighbors that wants to expand their apartment, allow them permission, because everybody is growing, their family is growing, everyone wants to expand their apartment, but without approval of the neighbors, no one can do anything. And what happened in this community? No one is happy for anybody, so no one's signing off. All of a sudden, him getting an extension to his house is going to distract your view, as if you're ever in a balcony. Him wanting to expand his house is going to somehow create too much noise that's unfathomable for you, even though you're not home all day. And nobody wants to allow. If you guys all sign to allow your neighbors to expand their houses, you're finally going to show some Ahavat Israel, the plague's going to stop. People couldn't believe it. That is going to help. Fine. Seems easier than stopping Lashon Hara. Seems easier than being more observant of Shabbat. And guess what? It worked. It worked. They signed off something that you wouldn't see without being a gaon, without being a giant. You would never see such a thing as even being a plausible idea that would affect Shamayim. But that's what it was. The hatred that they had for each other wasn't external, where they cursed each other and no. Hello, good morning, Shabbat Shalom, But as soon as the paper came, hey, can you do me a favor? We're gonna, the house is a little bit too small for us. Baruch Hashem, the family's growing. We need to expand the house a little bit. We need to build, but we need permission from all the neighbors to expand the house. So can you do me a favor, be a good neighbor and just sign off over here? We're not asking you for any money. We're not asking you for anything other than the signature. Just allow me to expand the house so I can give it to the city. Oh, you're expanding the house, huh? Yeah, it's going to be noisy. And also my view. No, but I'm on the other side of the building. Oh, no. Okay, so still noisy. No, you can't even hear us. Yeah, but, it's, what happens? Evil eye. Jealous of somebody else expanding and you're not expanding. That type of hatred created a plague in the world. That type of hatred brought a plague to the world. So a person that is focused on other people's stuff is a very, very sick person. Literally, if you think about it, even more extensively than what I'm saying, you'll realize that I'm not exaggerating when I'm calling it stage 4 cancer. It's literally a disease that can make a person not only bring evil to the world around them, but to himself, to herself. She refuses to get married. Why? Because she believes one of her friends, Shidduch, and who she ended up marrying is the best one, and no one else is good enough. Oh yeah, she found somebody. He was rich. He was good looking. He was in a good family. This guy, he's just a good family, but he's not rich, and he's not the king of beauty. Okay, but he's a good guy. He has good ideology. Why do you need all this other stuff? No, I want somebody like him. That's an evil eye. That's an evil eye that's not only causing bad to this other person, chas v'shalom, but also to the person themselves. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Okino says, Ayin Tova. Have Ayin Tova, be happy for other people. Be happy for other people's success. Be happy for other people's good. Don't be one of these people that literally can't move forward unless you are the only one that's the center of attention, that you're the only one that has everything. When you see somebody has more than you, you should be happy. When you see somebody succeed, you should be happy. And I've said this once, twice, and maybe 1,000 times. The lowest form of conversation is when people talk about other people's money. It's literally the lowest form of conversation. It shows that the people have not even a brain in their head. It literally shows they have maybe cockroaches in their brain. Cockroaches with wallets. It's the most bizarre conversation that's extremely common today. They talk about the contracts of athletes, talk about the business deals that so-and-so made, and he signed this. Oh, you heard? They're buying this company for $40 billion. What's it to you? What's it to you that they're buying it for $40 billion? What do you care? Did you make money out of it? No. Are you going to make money out of it? No. What do you care? Why do you care? You've just spent the last 10 seconds discussing this. That's 10 seconds you're never going to get back again. Why do you care that they're doing it? What does it do for you? If you're an investment banker and you're trying to learn, if you're an investment banker or some type of lawyer or some type of broker or somebody that's in the field that has to do with your profession, that's one thing. But to simply just small talk about other people's money, other people's deals, it's literally the lowest form of conversation. It shows you have cockroaches in your head. If that much. Because it doesn't yield any wisdom whatsoever, any good whatsoever, and all it does show is that you're a jealous person. If you weren't spending your time being jealous, evil eye, you'd actually have more time to make money. You'd have more time to be a better person. You have more time to learn. You have more time to do a lot of good things. And this, Rabotai, is why Rabbi Eliezer says, Ayin Tova. That's why it's such a big deal. He could have picked anything in the world. He picked Ayin Tova. Next, Rabbi Yoshua says, Chaver Tov. Good friend. Somebody has a good friend. That's a path to success in life. That's a path to a purposeful life. But we're not talking about a good friend that goes out night clubbing with you or goes out to vacations with you. What's a good friend in the opinion of the Torah? A good friend is somebody that will offer you constructive criticism. Someone that will rebuke you. Someone that will tell you the truth. Now, of course, people that have been watching my shiurim, some of them have developed a knack for liking to rebuke everybody. But that does not make them a good friend to the world. Because it all depends on how you're rebuking and what your intentions are. If you're doing that rebuke because you care and you love the person and you want to help them, yes, that makes you a good friend. But if you're doing it because you want to show that you're right and they're wrong, and you're smart and they're stupid, you're holy in your mind and they're not, you're not only not a good friend, you're a destructive friend. Even more so, sometimes you have people that like to rebuke, they want to rebuke, they know what they're saying, but they tell their friend, they tell their fellow, they tell their brother, sister, mother, father, whoever it is, something, and all of a sudden, a fight breaks out. A fight breaks out. And that fight is a very important fight. Why would the fight be an important fight? Because that fight is going to tell you how strong that relationship really is. If that relationship is really strong, they'll overcome their differences and everything is going to end up being okay. But if that fight breaks the barriers, crosses all the lines, then that shows how weak that relationship really is. That everything that they thought they had until now was really fake. One of the things that I've learned more and more how important it is over the years is the relationship between a student and a rabbi. Many times people tell you, oh, my rabbi is such and such. My rabbi is such and such. He's a gaon. He's a giant. He's a tzaddik. He's this. He's that. Great. You may think all of those things about your rabbi. The truth is, you're only going to know how good your relationship is with your rabbi based on how you handle rebuke from that rabbi. Because if that rabbi is a tzaddik and great and smart and amazing and all those wonderful things, but he never offered you a rebuke, most likely he's not even your rabbi. Most likely he's not even your rabbi. Because every rabbi, if he's your rabbi, will offer you some form of rebuke. Will rebuke you, will tell you that you're doing something wrong. Everybody has their ways of how to do it, but nonetheless, he will rebuke you in some way. Now, he may be a good rabbi, but you may be a terrible student. Why? Because the second he rebuked you, the second that he told you you're wrong, you simply couldn't handle it. No, but rabbi, but this, but that, but this, but that, but I don't think you're right, but I don't think you're understanding, but maybe this, but maybe that. Oh, so you don't like to get the rebuke, and you don't want to listen to the rebuke, and you're arguing about the rebuke. Oh, okay, so he's not your rabbi. He's not your rabbi. Do you know when you know that someone's your rabbi? I'll give you guys a little secret. No one has ever told me what to do in life. More or less, I pretty much followed a decent path in my life. I didn't really need many people to tell me what to do. But anytime somebody would tell me what to do, and they simply decided to push themselves in a position of power, unless that power was warranted, it didn't really work out so well. Now, when I was playing football in high school, you have a coach. Coach tells you run, you run. Coach tells you do push-ups, you do push-ups. Why? He's in a position of power. But he's in a position of power because you put him there. You want to be part of the team, you have to listen to this coach. It's part of the requirements. You work for a certain company. The business, the manager tells you, clean up, do a stock, do this, do that. You want to be a part of that company. You put that person in a position of power that he will tell you what to do. But there are times, there are people that simply, they're not in that position of power. You didn't put them there. They're simply related to you. They're friends of yours. They're neighbors of yours. They're whoever, colleagues, whoever it is. And they push themselves into a position of power. They decided they want to tell you what to do. And that didn't work out so well. Why? Because if I didn't put them in a position of power, that means that they're not in a position of power. So if somebody offered me their advice, many times, more times than not, their advice went from one ear out the other. And I was just simply upset about the fact that I wasted the few minutes that I had to listen to whatever they were saying. And generally speaking, more times than not, people's advice wasn't as good as the one that I already had for myself. People had, typically when they give advice based on themselves, based on their abilities, based on their desires, based on what they would do if they were you, but they're not you. So more times than not, I didn't care for people's advice, and I didn't care for people's authority, and even times that there were people that were in a position of authority. If that authority wasn't one that I was welcoming and accepting, then I would have to make a decision of either you accept what they're saying or leave. I wouldn't generally speaking, I wouldn't argue with them. I would simply leave. Now, authority altogether was not something that I looked for. I didn't want to be an authority, and I didn't want anyone else to be an authority. But that changed. When I started my own company, all of a sudden I made myself into the authority, and all of a sudden I was the one that everyone had to listen to, and all of a sudden I realized that it's very, very important for people to follow this guideline, this advice, this rule, because it has to do with the entire ship. It has to do with the entire company. And anytime somebody broke off, it would hurt everyone. So it became very, very important to be not only the authority, but one that thought about all of the different things that other people don't think of. And many times, when I would have different people that would work for me argue with me, it simply wouldn't turn out so well. Why? Because simply, I would tell you either I'm right and you're wrong, or I'm the boss, and that's just the end of it. Now, that went on for many years. And for many years, I was either the one that they would kiss up to because I was the big customer, or I was the boss. And generally speaking, I didn't have to deal with much authority for a big part of my life because I was the guy. But that all changed. Again, when I met Rabbi Ephraim. When I met Rabbi Ephraim, I knew I met someone that is smarter than me, more holy than me, and somebody that knows a whole lot more things that I don't even know the beginning or the end of. But still, I didn't know what a rabbi is. I didn't know what having a rabbi is. I simply knew that this is somebody that I could learn a lot from. As I learned, I realized that whatever he's saying, he has something to back it up. Whatever he's saying, he's thought about it 50 million times before he said it. He's not saying things to sound good. He's not saying things just out of his cuff and just to make it appealing to me. He has sources that are backing what he's saying. And little by little, I realized that what a rabbi is in essence what you're making him into. And I realized that it's for my interest to listen to what he says. Now, in the beginning, it was relatively easy because what he was saying was brand new to me. And it didn't necessarily require me to do that much other than learn. As things changed and developed, he started telling me things that I had to do in order to change my life. I didn't always like it, but I realized that I have to do it. If he's the rabbi, I have to listen. As we developed even further, the advice got more difficult. The advice got more personal. The advice got more sensitive. And it became very difficult. But the same decision had to be made. If he's the rabbi, you just sit there like a good little boy with all of your experience and all of your knowledge and all of your this and all of your that, and you throw that all in the garbage. And you say yes. And you simply do it. And yeah, there were times that I would try to argue my point. And yeah, there were times I would try to explain. But it didn't make a difference. You have to decide. If you're going to make him your rabbi, You simply have to agree. Not argue, not debate, not try to prove your point. Yes, Rabbi. This is one of the things that I believe has been one of the greatest, if not the greatest, key to our success in getting closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because we have somebody that can tell us not only the truth, but the truth as it pertains to us, the sensitive parts, the difficult parts, the parts that are, unfortunately, not always the most convenient. And we know that what he's saying is right, even if it's going to take me hours, weeks, and sometimes months to see that what he's saying is right. We listen. Before we know it's right, before we agree, before we even think that there's anything having to do with this thing, with our life, that it's remotely correct, we simply say okay. And that's been one of the greatest things that we've added to our life, because now we know whatever we're doing, I have something to rely on. I have something to rely on. And this, Rabotai, is one of the things that I know that most people simply are not able to do. Not because they're incapable, but rather because they're not willing. Because their ego does not allow them to say, yes, Rabbi. Rather, their ego says, maybe the rabbi didn't understand what I meant. Maybe the rabbi didn't think about this. Maybe the rabbi just doesn't understand what really happened. I have to say it again. And they simply refuse to listen. And there lies the truth. You can say, he's your rabbi, and he's a gaon, and he's a gadol, and he's a genius, and he's a this, and all of that is worth absolutely zero. Nothing. Unless you're willing to say, yes, Rabbi, to everything. And you're going to say, wait, so what? What is you idolizing him? Absolutely not. You only idolize HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only thing. But since you don't know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will is, and he does, you say, yes, Rabbi. Oh, but maybe he doesn't. If you think he doesn't, as the Chazon Ish says, then he's not your rabbi, and you are a kofel. Why are you kofel? You're doubting Talmidei Chachamim. You're doubting people that have toiled in Torah 1.5 million times more than you're even capable of withstanding. If you think that he doesn't know and you know, then how could he be your rabbi? Didn't you just say a minute ago that he's a genius? Didn't you say a minute ago that he's a gadol? Didn't you say that a minute ago that his rabbi is a big rabbi and blah, 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 and you wrote this and he did this? So how could he not understand? How can you know more than him? Oh, because I'm in the business and he's not in the business? So what? What do you think? Everything is not in the Gemara? Afoch ba ve'afoch ba de kula ba. Delve into it and delve into it because everything is in it. The minute you know that you will listen blindly to everything your rabbi says, and you do listen to everything he says blindly, that's when you perhaps have a rabbi. Until then, he's an aspiring rabbi. Perhaps maybe will have the job one day. And this is one of the things, Rabotai, that I see many times throughout the years, where people can say a lot of wonderful things, and they think that you're the greatest, and they contribute, and they help, and they do everything and anything. Until one day you say something either directly to them, or about somebody that's similar to them, or even not about them, that they don't even know it's not about them, but they simply decide, I don't agree with this rabbi. Yeah, but wasn't he your rabbi for the last 5, 10, 20 years? Yeah, but I didn't think that he was going to be for the vaccine. I didn't know he was going to be against the vaccine. I didn't know that he's going to be for this or against this. Oh, so all of that goes in the garbage because of that one thing? No. All of that was in the garbage. And that one thing just simply brought it out. That one thing just brought it out, brought out the truth. He was never your rabbi. You just told people he was. You know, like people they tell people, they take pictures in front of some fancy car or some fancy house, making it seem as if it's their car, but then 5 minutes later when the guy with the camera leaves, they also leave because it's not their house, it's not their car. Same thing. You had a picture with the rabbi, you pretended like he's your rabbi, but in reality, he had nothing to do with you. He was just somebody that you listened to and you enjoyed listening to, but in reality, not your rabbi. When a person understands what I just said, perhaps they could be on their path to getting a rabbi. Perhaps they're already on it. But if a person thinks that their opinion is in any way, shape, or form going to be something that will that could supersede whatever their rabbi tells them to do, that means that they haven't acquired a rabbi yet. So here we see that a person that wants to acquire a good friend, needless to say a rabbi, has to already look for different things. Not the things that people look at in the streets. They look for who's going to be my friend, the one that wants to go out to the same places I go to, vacation to the same places I go to, or I want to go to someone that's this. No. You want a good friend? Find somebody that is going to tell you the truth and you will accept it from them. Until you have somebody that will tell you the truth and you'll accept it, you don't have any friends. You have acquaintances, colleagues, strangers that you know their names. That's all you have. A friend is somebody that will tell you the truth and you'll listen to. A rabbi is someone that will tell you the truth and you will listen to. No questions asked. This, Rabotai, I can count in my hand, and even less, how many people I know that actually do that. Why? Simply put, most people are best friends with their ego, are students of their ego, rather than their rabbi, rather than their chavuta, rather than their colleagues, rather than anybody else. Everything has a line. Oh yeah, no, I listened to him until he said this. Oh yeah, I go to him until he went this. And there's a line. Once there's a line, that shows you the strength of that relationship. That line is where that signifies where the strength of that relationship is. Same thing with marriage, same thing with parenthood, same thing with everything else. You could have somebody says, yeah, I'm a very patient person. Yeah, sure, everybody's patient. No, I'm a really patient person. Sure, everybody's patient. That's what Rabbi says. Everybody's patient. What do you mean everybody's patient? But I'm really patient. How could everybody be patient? Everybody's patient. You're patient. Everybody's patient. Now, does anything ever break your patience? Do you ever get annoyed? Well, yeah, listen, I'm annoyed if I go to the motor vehicles or I go to some office and they make me wait online even though I made an appointment. They make me wait online past 15 minutes, past a half hour, past an hour. Then, yeah, I'd probably lose my patience. Oh, okay, so you're patient like everybody else. Everybody's patient, but everybody has their lines. Everybody has their lines. So your patience is 15 minutes. His patience is a half hour. His patience is when people don't cut him off on the highway. His patience is when they don't tell him what to do. Her patience is when somebody tells her only compliments. If there's anything other than compliments, she's not patient anymore. And so on and so forth. So everybody's patient. But in reality, if you define patience for what it's supposed to be, very few will you find. Now, a person that is real with themselves will take the things that we're saying and say, wait a minute, where do I stand with every one of these things so far? Do I have a good eye? Do I have a good friend? Am I a good friend? And there lies the next. Rabbi Yosef says, Shachen Tov, a good neighbor. A good neighbor. Someone that you could see and learn something from. Someone that can contribute to the community. Rabbeinu Yonah says, it's easier to be the good neighbor than to have a good neighbor. The teachings of Shachen Tov is not for you to look for good neighbors, but rather to tell you that you should try to be that good neighbor. The one that contributes, the one that helps, the one that cares. In the Sefer Ya'alzu Chasidim by Rabbi Eliezer Papo, the Chacham says, anyone who sees his friend make a sin and doesn't rebuke him, it's as if he murdered him. When you see your neighbor in shul, you see your neighbor in the community, you see your neighbor, literally your neighbor, going against the Torah, and you don't do much about it, it's like you're murdering him. Because perhaps HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent him next to you or you next to him just for you to be that good neighbor. Not just so you can invite him to have chulent with you on Saturday morning. Not so you can have play dates, your kids and his kids, so you guys can get to talk while they break the house. No, to be a good neighbor, to care enough about each other's well-being, but not just the things that people think about. Not to go visit each other's houses so you can count who has more chandeliers and who has nicer window treatment. But rather, someone that cares. Next, Rabbi Shimon says, Aroe et hanolad. Someone that sees, that considers the outcome of his deeds, sees the consequences. Rabbi Shimon ben Netanel was one that I told you before. He was one that was known for his Yirat Shamayim. And because of his knack and cleaving to the teachings of Yirat Shamayim, he says, you want to have a good path? Before you do anything, think about what will happen as a result. Think about what will happen as a result. You want to go to the store. Why? Because you need to buy some milk. Simple decision. Grab the keys, get in the car, go to the store. A half hour later, you're home. Doesn't seem like a decision that requires so much thought. Perhaps it does. Is there a better way to get that milk? Is there something else you can do with that half hour? Is there someone else that can do it? Is there a danger in getting milk? All of those things are things a person needs to consider before they get even a simple carton of milk. If you know that half hour that you'll spend going to get milk will be from your Torah time, instead of learning Torah for an hour or 2 hours, you'll now learn for a half hour or less. Perhaps somebody else can get it, someone that's not learning Torah. And it's worth it to pay him extra, just like the Gaon Mivilna said to his wife. It's worth it to pay somebody extra just to go and get you the groceries rather than you going. He already knew about delivering groceries already 200 years ago and the value of that convenience. Not because you're lazy, but rather because your time is worth a lot more than just money. That time is Torah time. And even more so, is there a danger in going to get that milk? Let's say, for example, no one can go and get it for you. You have to go get it. You either don't have somebody, or you can't afford somebody, or simply the service is not available. You still have to consider, should I go get milk? Now or later? Why now or later? Very simple. If it's now, and you know now is in the middle of the afternoon, or it's some prime time hour, that everyone is at that store, that you know there's going to be a lot more immodesty there. Simple. You say, okay, I'm going to go when there is less people, either early in the morning or late at night or whenever it is. Why? To avoid things that I don't need in my life. Avoid the apparent danger. If you don't think about those things, then perhaps you should listen to Rabbi Shimon ben Netanel and acquire this attribute of seeing what will be born. You just met somebody new. You have things in common. You want to befriend this person. Before you decide to, what will transpire from this is the first thought you have to have. Okay, being friends with them. That means that if I'm going to be friends with them, I'm going to have to contribute time out of my life to this friendship, because you can't be friends with somebody unless you spend time with them. You talk to them on the phone, you meet with them, you eat with them, you this with them, you that with them. Do I have that time? Well, everybody has 24 hours, but the 24 hours that I have right now, what are they spent on? If the time that you're spending now is already booked on other really, really important things, you have to decide whether this person can fit or not. Whether the time spent with them is superior to the time you're spending on other things. What will you get out of this relationship? Will you become more righteous? Will become wiser? Or is just simply to have fun? What did you come to the world for? To have fun? Or did you come to the world to serve a Kadosh Baruch Hu and become a better person? Become a better husband, a better wife, a better this, a better that? What did you become? Why do you have this relationship? Many times people don't think about these things. Why? Simply they go with the flow. They go with the flow and they end up falling. Time and time again, and then they wonder why. So Rabbi Shimon is telling you have to see what will be born. Many times we've spoken about the lack of consideration that people have on the consequences of their actions. When they go against Hashem, when they violate Shabbat, when they're promiscuous with either themselves or with other people, when they're simply immoral, when they're going against the society, when they're stealing, when they're simply bad people to themselves or to others or to both, in accordance with the Torah, and they simply don't see the consequence. And many times we've discussed the consequences, where a person that steals has to know that even if they observe the entire Torah, unless they return what they stole, they will have to be reincarnated and come back to this life in order to return what they stole. Now, as I've told you in a story by the Baal Shem Tov, and there are countless others that are similar to it, a person that stole doesn't necessarily always come back as another person. Sometimes he'll have to come back as an animal to serve that person. Sometimes he'll have to come back as something else to serve that person that he stole from. It's not just, oh, I stole $50 from so-and-so, and I'll just come back another life and I'll give him $50 and go back to heaven. No, it doesn't work that way. Sometimes the person will come back as a horse that only earns a half a penny a day and has to work the next 100 years in order to return the $50. A person that steals is simply not taking into account anything that Hashem said. Better yet, a person that's immoral with themselves or with others, promiscuous, certainly is not thinking about the consequences. Where Chachamim say that a person that wastes seed, even if it's with himself, is as if he committed murder. And this is what the Rambam, Paskins La'alacha. Wasting seed is the equivalent of murder. Everybody understands that a murderer does not go to heaven. But better yet, the Reshit Chochmah, Rabbi Eliyahu Vidas, 500 years ago, one of the greatest Chachamim in the last half a millennium, says that there are 7 chambers to Gehenom. The first 6 are horrible, one worse than the other. Each one has different fires of different colors and different magnitude. But each one has a sentence that ends at some point. Could be a year, could be 100 years, could be more, could be less. But there's the 7th level. And whoever goes in there does not come out. Meaning eternal punishment. Just like the Ramban, Nachmanides says, just like the Rambam says in Ilchot Shuvah, and just like the Gemara says in Masechet Rosh Hashanah and other places, and it's just like it is among all of Am Yisrael, knowing that there is a section in Gehenom that is eternal. Needless to say, all of the others are terrible and could be very, very long. And Gehenom is not the only form of punishment. There's also Kafakela that can last for 1,000 or more years. The Arizal says that there's sentences in Kafakela that can last 100 years and 1,000 years. And there's even Chibuta Kever that can last for hundreds of years. Meaning the suffering in the grave before they ever go to Kafakela or to Gehenom in itself could be literally hundreds and hundreds of years. And a person that wastes seed, a person that desecrates Hashem's name, a person that violates Shabbat on purpose, these types of people are simply putting themselves into the 7th level of Gehenom, meaning that their punishment will never end. Now, when you say this to people that are not in the world of truth, they say, nah, it's not possible, it's too much, it's too this, it's too that. Gehenom is only 1 year. The first question you have to ask him, if Gehenom is only 1 year, then how did this week's Parashat Korach, say that Korach and his followers are in Gehenom until this year, until now, right this second, they're in Gehenom. The Gemara says that one of the Chachamim was traveling and saw an Arab, a Druzi, said to him, you want to see something? want to see Korach? He says, sure. He brings him to a place in the desert. He says, go, listen to this. There's a hole in the ground. Comes closer, he hears something. Says, put something in there. They put some cotton on a string. He dips it into the hole, pulls it back, it comes up with lava on it. So they realize this is a serious place over here. He says, wait, momentarily. Gets closer to it, and he hears, Moshe is emet. His Torah is emet. And we are liars. Chacham says, that's Korach. That's Korach. Korach says that's what Torah says. Korach says that Moshe is emet, he's the truth, and the Torah is the truth, and we are liars. That's what Torah says. Does this happen every day? The Arab says, no, only once a month. He goes, oh, yeah, the Chachamim did say in our Masoret that every month he'll say it and you'll hear it. He says it all the time. He says it all day, every day. For already over 3,333 years. But only when his boiling like a shish kebab gets to a point that's closer, that turns closer to the hole, can you hear it? Because when he's on the bottom, you can't hear it. But when the turn goes in a certain fashion where it's closer to the hole, you can hear his voice. But every day he says it. So what is Korach? The only one in all of his buddies, the only ones in Gehinom for more than a year. And even more so, last week's parasha, Parashat Shlach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, the meraglim, they made a sin. Everybody agrees. They made a mistake, a big mistake. They died a strange death after saying Lashon Hara on a piece of land. Hashem took their tongue, and their tongue connected to their umbilical cord, and everybody saw them die the most unusual, disastrous death in the world. And then the rest of Am Yisrael, Torah says, במספר הימים אשר תרתם את הארץ 40 יום, יום לשנה תישאו את עוונותיכם 40 שנה, וידעתם את תנועתי. Like the number of days that you spied out the land, 40 days, a day for a year, you will bear your sins 40 years, and you will recognize the removal from me. Says Onkelos, what does it mean? A day for a year. You'll know, you'll recognize the removal from me. What does that all mean? You sinned 1 second it took you to sin. You said Lashon Hara about the land. You said Lashon Hara about Hashem. Right? 1 second it took you. There wasn't like a series of TED Talks that took 8 hours. No. Simple. 1 second you said what you said. But you went there for 40 days. There, back 40 days. For every one of those days, that was in essence the action itself took 40 days to get to where it was. For each one of those days, you'll be punished for a year. A year more, you'll be in a desert. Why? Because from this evil, you will recognize how I judge. Meaning that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's timing is not like our timing. If for saying Lashon Hara 1 time in their life, the whole nation that believed it, got punished for 40 years. What about a lifetime of Lashon Hara? What about a lifetime of promiscuity? What about a lifetime of Chilul Shabbat? What about a lifetime of Gava, of pride? What about a lifetime of anger? What about a lifetime of Chilul Hashem? You also think that's going to be a year? How come what? They're the only ones that got the big punishment? You are the big tzaddik that's going to get everything? Says Rabbi Shimon, before you do anything, think about what we want out of it. Think about what the consequences are. Think about what the consequences are going to be before you do it. Don't get yourself into that mess. It's not worth it. The price you're paying for going to that place, the price you're paying for stealing that thing, the price you're paying for touching that thing, the price you pay for eating that thing, the price you pay for thinking that thing, the price you pay for going against HaKadosh Baruch Hu is simply too dear. It's not worth it. And the only way you're going to not violate Hashem's name and His Torah is by thinking about the consequences before you do them. But then Rabbi Elazar says, Rabbi Elazar ben Arach, Lev Tov, good heart. Good heart. And Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai says, a good heart, that's better than all of them. Why is it better than all of them? Not that they're all wrong, but rather it includes all of what they said. That's why this is the one I chose, not because you guys are wrong, not because anything that was said by Rabbi Eliezer or Rabbi Shimon was wrong. Not because Rabbi Yossi was wrong. No, everybody was right. But what Rabbi Elazar ben Arach says, that Lev Tov, a good heart, it includes all of them. Meaning that without a good heart, there is no way that you will ever have a good eye. Without having a good heart, you will never have a good eye. Because you're not going to be happy to see somebody else succeed. You saw him get a new house, you're not happy for him. Why? Because you have an evil heart. And the evil heart is what leads to, is because the evil eye leads to the bad heart. The bad heart is the total. So, if you have a good heart, that means that you have to have a good eye. You have to have a good, there's no way to have a good heart without having a good eye. Now you can have a good eye and still have an evil heart. Why? Because you may have a good eye, but it has its limitations. When is that limitation? When it comes to your friends. You don't want to be a good friend. You want to be a best friend. You know what's the difference between a good friend and a best friend? A good friend, as we said, is someone that will rebuke you and tell you the truth in order to help you because they love you. A best friend is going to go with you on vacation to the places that you're forbidden to go to. He's going to tell you it's okay, he'll never find out. He's going to tell you, listen, don't worry about it, she's back home. That's a best friend. Best friend in crimes. Best friend. Are you my BFF? Yeah, we're being Genom together. You don't need best friends. Good friend. Good friend. Why not good friends? Because if you're fortunate enough to find one, you'll realize how unlikely you are to find many. The reality is, Rabotai Karim, if a person can have a good eye, but he doesn't want to be a good friend, he doesn't want to tell his friends to stop doing the bad stuff, because he doesn't want to ruin the relationship. Or he simply doesn't want to be that good neighbor. He has a good eye when his friends are developing. He has a good eye when his friends are building. He has a good eye when his friends are getting married. But if it's his neighbor, and his neighbor is building, his neighbor is buying, his neighbor is growing, he has nothing with his neighbor. He doesn't even like his neighbor. In fact, his neighbor is a different community. That's when the line is drawn, and he doesn't want to be a good neighbor. He's a good friend to his friends. He has a good eye to his community, but it's somebody from a different community. No. So obviously he still has an evil eye, evil heart. Or he could simply be a good eye, good friend, good neighbor. So long as whatever is going on is obvious. But any time that it's not so obvious, somebody tells him, listen, you want to make a quick 25-30% on your money? Oh, sure, where do I sign up? He doesn't ask the questions if is it legal, is it ethical, is it halachically permissible? He's just thinking about, he wants more money. He has X amount, he wants 25% more. That's a person that doesn't ask the questions because he doesn't care enough about the consequences. So he can still have a rotten heart, even if he is the other things. So says Rabbi Elazar ben Arach, Lev Tov. Lev Tov, you have a good heart, that means you have everything. That means you have literally everything. When a person has a good heart, that means that their good heart, is going to simply lead them in the right path at all times. That they're only going to look at things that are permissible, but even more so, when they see that others are succeeding, they're going to be as happy about their success as they are about their own. One of the great stories I heard about Rabbi Levin from Rabbi Ephraim is the one time he had chest pains. And he decided to go outside for a walk. And his Talmid saw him really happy all of a sudden. He says, Kvod Harav, what happened? He goes, oh no, I had some chest pains and I came out here and now I feel much better. Talmid says, something happened? He goes, yeah, I just noticed that my neighbor is building a second floor for himself. That made me so happy. Chest pains are gone. Meaning that he was so happy that somebody else is succeeding, somebody else is growing, somebody else has good, that it literally had a physical impact on him. When was the last time you were positively impacted physically as a result of somebody else's success? And if you haven't, perhaps it's time to change the ways that we have in order to maybe get to at least somewhere close to what these great sages got to. Now, Rabbi Yochanan says that all of these others are under the umbrella of a good heart. It comes the Chazon Ish and says, everyone agrees that a good heart is a good trait, which includes all the good traits that unite and become one complete whole. But the discussion is about the active means by which one can acquire a good heart. And telling a person to go out and acquire a good heart doesn't teach him anything about the means to achieve the desired goal. He's saying, yes, the goal is to have a good heart. But to go and tell somebody, go get a good heart, doesn't teach him anything. Why? Because you can't just be born with a good heart. You have to acquire it. And that's what makes the other sages correct in their ways. Where they weren't telling you the end goal. They were telling you the path. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was telling you the goal. The goal is to have a good heart. But Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkenos, Rabbi Yossi, all of the other sages were telling you, hey, yes, we all agree, good heart. But we weren't talking about that. We were talking about how to get there. You want to have a good heart? Develop a good eye. You want to have a good heart? Be a good friend. You want to develop a good heart? Be a good neighbor. You want to develop a good heart? Evaluate your choices based on consequences. If a Kadosh Baruch Hu judged us for 40 years in a desert based on believing a single sentence, what will he judge us based on a week long of bad words? Based on a lifetime full of desecrating of his name? What will he judge us? So a person that wants to get this good heart will evaluate those choices and thereby will not do a lot of the things that they're doing. So we see from here, Rabotai, that again, the basics of the Torah of reward and punishment remain the basics that connect to the entire spiritual nervous system. That is the Torah. When a person wants to get to a certain end destination, if they simply focus on the destination, they've already failed before they begun. Many times, people want to have what somebody else has. And more times than not, they will never achieve it. They want to complete the shas. They want to become a millionaire. They want to get married. They want to have kids. They want to get this car. They want to get this house. But the minute they find out what you have to do in order to do those things, in order to get those things, they lose steam quickly and they go in a different direction. Because to them, all they cared for was the destination. What the Chazon Ish is teaching us, in the name of Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, it's not the destination that's key, but rather the journey to it, the path to it. You have to evaluate your choices of every single step, more so than you evaluate the destination. Because if you follow a certain steps, the destination is already assured. If you followed a different set of steps, then a different destination is already assured. In Masechet Ketubot, page 62, story of Rabbi Akiva, famous story everyone knows, where Rabbi Akiva was a Am Haaretz, did not know anything, and in fact hated religious people, but worked for a rich man named Kalba Savua. Kalba Savua had a beautiful young daughter named Rachel, 18-year-old cute kid that was as righteous as can possibly be. And she saw that one of the workers of her father that was cleaning the horses was this Jew named Akiva. And he had good character traits. He's very gentle, very giving, very generous, patient. She says if he has natural inclinations, his natural midot are so good, if he learns Torah, he can become an Adam Gadol, very special person. And her 18-year-old self went to Akiva and says to him, I'm willing to marry you if you promise me that you're going to go learn Torah for the rest of your life. Akiva was 40 years old, didn't even know Aleph Bet, was already widowed, he had a son, some say more, sees an 18-year-old daughter of his boss want to marry him. Sure, I'll go learn Torah. Now when she wanted to marry him and she decided she's going to do it and he decided yes, that all sounded good to everyone except Kalba Savua, who told her that if you go ahead and marry him, I'm disowning you, you will get nothing from me, you're kicked out of the house. She went forward with the plan. She married Akiva and sent him off to yeshiva for 24 years. Sure, there are other details to the story, but I've told in other lectures, since the point is something else. After 24 years, Rabbi Akiva is the biggest rabbi of the generation. He comes back home with 24,000 students. Just imagine the scene. 24,000 giants, 24,000 chachamim, with Rabbi Akiva at the head, because that's the halacha. You never walk in front of your rabbi. He's always ahead. So that means that everybody's walking 24,000 students, either by his side or behind him. And he's walking, already in his late 60s. And the scene of seeing his wife, Rachel, for the first time is legendary in itself, where he tells everybody, Sheli v'shelachem shelau, that my Torah and all of your Torah, all the 24,000 students, all of our Torah is our Torah. Because if it wasn't for her to send me into the yeshiva, none of you would exist. I wouldn't exist. Nothing would exist. All of that Torah is Rachel's. The scene was extraordinary. Everyone knew about it. Tens of thousands of people welcoming the Gdol Ador. This poor woman already knows that her husband is the Gdol Ador. And now she sees him. Everything comes to life. Kalba Savua, her father, who hasn't seen her in 24 years, only heard some stories about her from time to time about how she's struggling with poverty, where the Gemara says that she got to such level of poverty that she had to cut off her hair and sell it in order to have food to eat. They literally didn't have beds. They would sleep on straw. Even before Rabbi Akiva came back, they were poor. By the time he came home, even poorer. To make them happy one time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent Eliyahu Navi as a beggar, knocking on their door, begging them for straw because they just had a baby. To make them feel better about the fact that their straw may not seem like a lot, but it's still more than other people. Teaching the teachings of who is rich, someone that's happy with his share. But now Kalba Savua heard about this great rabbi, and he doesn't know that it's his own son-in-law. And he asks for a meeting with this great rabbi. And he meets him, and he says to him, Kvod Harav, I wonder if you can help me. Years ago, I made a vow that my daughter will be disowned as a result of the choice she made and who she married, this Am Haaretz, this bull, this ignoramus. But so many years have passed, and I want to help her. I feel bad. I hear that she's really poor. Is there any way that you can nullify my vow? And Rabbi Akiva, who knows who his father-in-law is and knows that his father-in-law doesn't know who he is, says to him, why did you disown her? Because she married a ignoramus, didn't know Torah? What if that person learned some Mishnayot and started learning and perhaps even became a big rabbi like me? Would you have disowned her? Because no, chas v'shalom, Rabbi, forget, even if you would have just known how to pray, I wouldn't have disowned her. The guy didn't know how to pray, he didn't know Aleph Bet. He would make mistakes even saying his name. He didn't know anything. That's why I disowned her. Rabbi Akiva says, I am your son-in-law and your vow is nullified. So come to Baalei Tosfot and say, wait a minute. We have a klal, we have a rule in the Torah. A vow cannot be nullified if the reason it's being nullified is for something new. Meaning, at the time that he made the vow because she's marrying somebody that's an ignoramus, doesn't know anything in the Torah. And you're saying you're canceling that vow because you became a big chacham. And he wouldn't have nullified it had you become a chacham. But you can't do that because that's something new. How can Rabbi Akiva nullify this vow? And then the Baalei Tosfot answered the question. He said, no. This is what happened. You see, Rabbi Akiva was already assured to have success. When he agreed to marry Rachel, he agreed to marry her under the term that she will be home and he's going to go learn Torah. For the rest of his life, he's going to learn Torah. And our Torah promises us that anyone that commits to learning Torah and takes action is assured to become an Adam Gadol, is assured to become a big important person. Which means that the change was not new. The change was even before the marriage, was a condition of the marriage. Which means that at the time that Kalba Savua made the vow, the change was already made. Akiva made the vow himself to go and learn Torah and eventually, in essence, become Rabbi Akiva. That's why he was able to nullify the vow. We see it from here, Rabotai Karim, that if a person commits to living their life in such a path where they want to have this lev tov, this good heart, and they agree to whatever it entails, that means they have to have already a determination. I want to have this good heart, and I'm going to do whatever I can to have this good heart. That means that when the test of good eye comes, I'm going to pass it. I see someone succeeding, knows a lot more than me, I'm going to be happy about it. Someone has more than me, happy about it. When there's a neighbor, I'm going to be a good neighbor. I'm going to help that neighbor and contribute to the community. Help them learn Torah, help them do mitzvot, do chesed, donate my time, donate my money, donate whatever I could to contribute. When it comes to friends, I'm not looking for friends that are going to go on vacation with me. I'm looking for somebody that's going to tell me the truth when I need to hear it. And someone that I can tell the truth to also, because it has to be a two-way street. I'm going to decide who the rabbi is going to be, not based on who's most famous and who's least famous, but rather who's most honest, that I'm willing to accept it. So when that test of a good eye, a good neighbor, a good friend comes, I'm already deciding ahead of time. I'm ready. I'm willing to accept that test. I'm willing to pass that test. And the one thing that's going to help me with all of those is that I'm also going to evaluate every circumstance. And what is the outcome of everything that I'm going to do? If I pass this test of good eye, what's the outcome? If I fail this test of good eye, what's the outcome? If I pass this test of good neighbor, what's the outcome? If I fail this test of good neighbor, what's the outcome? If I pass this test of good friend, what's the outcome? If I fail this test of good friend, what's the outcome? If I simply don't consider anything, what's the outcome? And if I do consider everything, what's the outcome? Surely a person that is determined to follow that good path will be assured to have a good destination. But if he only focuses on the destination and not the path, he's assured failure. Like many others out there that are constantly focused on what they want rather than how to get it. The Chazon Ish tells us here that it's easy to say to somebody to have a good heart, but that will not be teaching him everything, or anything for that matter. Rather, a person needs to have the means of how to achieve their desired goal. When you see that there are big teachers out there that are good teachers, good rabbis, one of the things that you need to know is who is their rabbi. Because if that's the student, it speaks volumes of the rabbi. It speaks volumes. One of the things I saw recently is that there is a very well-known rabbi by the name of Rav David Trank, Alav Shalom. A book came out recently, published by Art Scroll. I haven't read it yet. And I, quite frankly, never heard of the rabbi. I've seen some of the books. I think we have the children's book, but I don't know much about his life. And there was a film released by Rabbi Yoel Gold. And speaks volumes about this enormous tzaddik, Rav Trank. But the one thing that stood out to me more than anything else, I mean, he was a very impressive person, did a lot of good things for the community, uplifted his students, uplifted his community, was a great teacher, dedicated to the Torah, made sure that his students learned Gemara, learned Torah, dedicated no matter where they came from, endured a lot of suffering with a smile. But the thing that stood out the most to me is that the person that made that video was one of the students. Rabbi Yoel Gold is one of his students. And is not embarrassed to say that yeshiva that Rabbi Trank had was a yeshiva, in essence, for troubled kids. Kids that couldn't get accepted anywhere else. And yet those kids attended that yeshiva and heard from the rabbi that they are great, that they are wonderful, that they are smart, even if they didn't believe they were. He already saw what would come out of all of those boys if they simply followed the good path. But not just good words and empty promises. Rather, he studied with each and every single one of them Torah, so much so that even years later, decades later, he would remember exactly which Gemara he learned with them, to the point where each one of those students remembered that Gemara by heart. And the part of the story that stood out to me was that when Rabbi Yoel Gold said his Gemara was Masechet Yevamot, perhaps the most difficult tractate in the Gemara. Rabbi Yoel Gold, that was at that point initially considered perhaps one of those troubled kids, became a rabbi that knows that Gemara by heart. And also a very well-known rabbi that makes a lot of wonderful videos that give people chizuk. If that's the student, imagine the rabbi. There was a time years ago, over 20 years ago, that a rabbi stepped into a yeshiva as a guest teacher to uplift the students. And he asked each one of the kids, "What's your name?" And when he got to one of the boys that was new, it was just his first or second day there, "What's your name?" The boy said, "Ephraim." Says, "Okay, Rabbi Ephraim." And the boy smiled. He said, No, I'm just Ephraim, not Rabbi." He said, "Sure you are. Just like the Torah judges the Ben Sorer Umoreh based on the outcome of his actions. He's already judged as a wicked son, wayward son, based on what he's doing now, terrorizing his parents. He's a wayward son. That's what the Torah calls him. If you're here learning Torah, you're Rabbi Ephraim." And as a little boy, he thought that's nice. Nice compliment. Nice way to uplift the kids. But over 20 years later, he's Rabbi Ephraim Kachlon, who has written well over 40 books. Baruch Hashem just got the smicha for Dayanut. Mazal Tov. And Baruch Hashem is the head of the organization BeEzrat HaShem that reaches every corner of the world. You never know where that good word will lead you to. But you do know that that good eye, that good neighbor, that good friend, ultimately that good heart is where you want to be. Because that path will surely be a purposeful life. Each and every single one of us could narrow in the focus on different bad character traits, break down those bad character traits, narrow even closer on one of those bad character traits, and this week take a step further. See where that bad character trait that you're now working on, that you're now fixing, see which one of these paths, which one of these doors does it open. Does removing that bad character trait help you have a better eye? Help you become a better neighbor? Help you become a better friend? Help you evaluate the consequences? Does it help you become a better person with a good heart? And interestingly enough, you'll see that it always does. BeEzrat HaShem, this too will be not only a teaching that will encourage us to continue learning more and more Torah, but will be encouraging enough to entice us to take action. Whatever action we took, we do even further. And if we didn't take action yet, this should be the final push to make us take the first step towards the path for a purposeful life. Thank you for learning with me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bless each and every single one of you. B'kol mikol kol, chaim arukim, shlemim, meleim Torah, mitzvot, v'gmilut chasadim. You're able to get to the best places that you allow yourself to. BeEzrat HaShem, this will help you get there. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen v'Amen. Shalom v'chai everybody. Very happy to announce a major event coming up in Eretz Yisrael. This event is going to be unlike any other we've done as an organization. Last year we had a group of young guys that completed the entire Shas, Bavli, and the Mishnayot in a single year. This year we're going to have the entire foundation of the oral Torah completed in a single night. By our own dear Ephraim and other Talmidim of the organization. In a single night we'll have the completion of the Shas Bavli, Shas Mishnayot, the Zohar Kadosh, Zohar Chadash, Tikkunei Zohar, and the Shulchan Aruch. Years and years of toil, lots of effort is coming to fruition, and in a single night, all of it will be completed to sanctify Kadosh Baruch Hu's name. This is going to be a night where many Rabbanim, many Tzaddikim will be joining us at this event. There'll be hundreds and hundreds of people at the event in Eretz Yisrael, including the Rishon LeZion, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, of course, our own very dear Rabbi Ephraim Kachlon. I myself will also be joining, coming to Eretz Yisrael for the first time in many years, to join this monumental event, this monumental Kiddush Hashem, in order to sanctify Kadosh Baruch Hu's name, to show Him how much we love His Torah, how dedicated we are to His Torah, and to be able to, BeEzrat Hashem, give chizuk to Am Yisrael in another way.
BeEzrat HaShem, ארגון BeEzrat HaShem, מתעתד לעשות כנס גדול, שם יהיה סיום על עיקרי התורה שבעל פה, שזה סיום כל התלמוד בבלי, סיום כל השישה סדרי משנה, סיום כל הזוהר הקדוש ותיקוני הזוהר, וסיום כל השולחן ערוך. בדרך כלל לוקח זמן כדי לסיים את כל הספרים הללו, 30 שנה, 40 שנה, ובסייעתא דשמיא הארגון BeEzrat HaShem עושה את הכנס לכל כלל ישראל. כולם מוזמנים.
We're looking forward for this event. We're also looking forward to seeing some of you that are going to be joining us. There are going to be some sponsorship opportunities for anyone that wants to be able to be a part of it. And of course, there'll be a opportunity for any of you that want to join us, one way or the other. Last but not least, there will also be a raffle that we'll be announcing very soon for anyone that wants to join the raffle and also be able to do KIRUV at the same time. The winner of the raffle will win a flight ticket to Eretz Yisrael and be able to join us at the event. So please look out for more news. Looking forward to seeing you at this event. And BeEzrat HaShem, Naaseh v'Natzliach.